Hello, everybody. Andy Jacob here again from DotCom Magazine. Today's interview is a very special interview. We have Rabbi Levi Shemtov, the executive director of the Friendship Circle, with us today to talk about the Friendship Circle and what the Friendship Circle has been able to do virtually to continue their mission of doing all the good work that they've been doing for the past 20 years. Rabbi Shemtov is a inspiration to all of us, and the Friendship Circle offers pure friendship for individuals with special needs. And Rabbi Shemtov, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you very much, Andy, and thank you for 25 years of friendship and support, and for being a founding member and always a member of our board. We never had a board without you on it. And of the main board, the boards of great cheerleaders and advisors.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And full disclosure, I've known Levi for 25 years. And Levi, for those people that don't know much about the Friendship Circle, even though they're popping up everywhere and becoming just a national and soon to be international phenomenon, just very quickly, tell the people watching what the Friendship Circle is all about.
Right. So Friendship Circle started with the realization that that there are certain people who will benefit from having others see them for who they really are inside, the beautiful soul that they are inside, and not for their external qualities. So it may be an addict. So the first people we found is addicts and people that suffer from mental illness. That's their identity, that they're an addict. So they have mental illness. And we said, you know what, we're going to find the beauty in them, and that's what we're going to appreciate and be their friend. The next population that we found that needed people to see them for who they really are were children with special needs. And we went out to support them. Then we discovered another part of the population that benefits when people see them for who they really are and not for all the labels that society attached to them. And that part of the population is everyone else. And when we discovered that, that was our pay dirt. When we realized that so we started working with kids with special needs by having teenage volunteers becoming friends with the children with special needs. And we told these teenagers, these kids need someone that sees them for the beautiful soul that they have inside. And so would you do that for us? And what happened was the teenagers realized that for the first time, they were having someone see them for their soul, not for their clothes, their grades, what their parents do for a living, and where they're going to college. So that's really the revolution of Friendship Circle, is to see people for their soul that's inside. And all
so that's a beautiful story. So the volunteers at the beginning that would go out to the homes of the families with special needs to provide respite care to the families, not only were they providing something to those families and to the children of special needs, but what they got back was equally important, because they were seen for something that was even more special than what perhaps they even thought they saw in themselves.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the people seeing each other for their labels and not for who they are is a problem. And unfortunately, we find that not only do people's friends, but even people's parents, and no one's questioning that there's no one that loves a child more than their parents, and at least for the most part.
Yeah.
And even parents, even loving parents, even great parents, have their labels that they attach to their kids, and you know, and sometimes the kids feel, and even if it's not true, they feel that their parents love them more if they're going to get into a good school, if they have good friends, if they're not overweight, if, you know, any whatever there is, if they're, and even for traits that they have absolutely nothing to do with, if they're beautiful, if they're athletic, you know, and it's a lot of pressure when you have that people see you for all your labels. And if you want someone to not see you for your labels, then have a relationship with an individual who has special needs, and more often than not, that's the relationship you'll have.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So the people that were coming in thinking that they were helping the people with special needs realized soon that they're being helped as well. It's a beautiful
Absolutely.
story.
Yep.
That's great. So you started 25 years ago. You had a handful of young ladies that would go out to the homes of families that had some special needs children to provide some respite care. And from there, you've been able to build a very dynamic organization that really has been copied throughout the country and even in other parts of the world. So when we think about the Friendship Circle, at least a lot of people think about the beautiful work that you're doing, and they're also thinking about sort of what you've been able to do by creating an atmosphere for these people with special needs to come to a place, a special place, to be provided amazing services and love. So how did you build the first building called Lifetown? Tell us a little bit about Lifetown and what that's all about.
So originally when we started, it was all about the friendships. So we had kids with special needs going to homes. We had typical teenagers going to homes of children with special needs. Then we started doing gatherings and meetings in different places. There was this gentleman who let us make a nice party every year on Walnut Lake. It was called the Walnut Lake Regatta, where kids with special needs came out, and neighbors from all over, other neighbors that lived on the lake, would take the kids out on the boats. I mean, and then we had different kinds of events. We rented space, borrowed space from public areas in the community. And then we realized that we should probably have a community center where people come together and this beautiful love can be facilitated. We reached out to parents, professionals, volunteers, and board members and donors, and asked, where can we, how do we, what would we want in this building? And at that point, we thought that we had enough funds for like a 5,000 square foot building. And then one of the donors came up with an idea. Actually, originally it was a park. That was, someone came up with the idea to make a park. And then someone else said, why are we making a park? Let's make a building. And then from a 5,000 square foot building, it became 23,000, then later expanded to 29. And people just came. Donors wanted to donate, volunteers wanted to volunteer, and families wanted to participate.
That's beautiful. So you have this building in West Bloomfield, Michigan. It's a wonderful building. There's actually an indoor city called Lifetown, where the people or the children with special needs can come. Schools are coming. People from the community come and volunteer, and people learn how to sort of navigate a real city in a virtual city, if you will, or a make-believe city that you've built called Lifetown. And this sort of Lifetown concept has spread to some other parts of the country because people are seeing what a wonderful and beautiful thing that is. So has the Friendship Circle been able to grow to the heights that you have dreamed of, or is there still a lot more on the plate for you?
The answer to that question, did the Friendship Circle grow to the heights that we dreamed of, is no, and that's because we had no dreams. So if I can backtrack and create a paper that I wrote 25 years ago and pull it out and have this vision, then I would be a genius, that I had this vision. We did not have a vision. The vision was to work as hard as we can and to dedicate ourselves as much as we can to continue to serve and to come up with programs that answer the questions and the needs of the community that we dedicated ourselves to serve. And you mentioned that we know each other for a long time. We never talked about that there should be, our conversations were never, how do we have 100 friends, whatever. At one point we said, okay, let's spread it, but it was never for us to feel, how many square feet we're going to have, what's our budget going to be. It was never that kind of answer. It was all to answer the call. And one of the things that were unusual it's unusual anywhere, but that's within our specific religious movement. When we dedicate ourselves to open a nonprofit, there's two things. First of all, that my wife and I do it together, and that's something that we build together. And the other thing is that we make a lifetime commitment to the same position and same organization. And that engenders, first of all, a lot of trust from donors, because a donor knows that, if they're going to build a building, and if I come to them and say that it's important to build a building and this community really needs this building, and they donate to it, they know that I'm not coming to them in 2 years and telling them how the most important thing in the world is a zoo, and then 2 years later it's a university, and 2 years later it's a hospital, and 2 years later it's the library or something else. So no, if I'm going to tell you that this is the thing, then this is what I believe in. And also, that we're not going to, see the writing on the wall that this program looks like it's going to fail in a half a year and it's time to take off and, move closer to my family on the other side of the country. We always wanted good weather and we're really going to miss you all. And then 6 months later, the organization craters. So that's something that we have. And also, most importantly, that's where that helps with support. But most importantly, the families. So there are families that we were working with 25 years ago. And the development of programming progressed to be appropriate for different ages, literally based on the families that we serve. And that's their need, and we're going to serve them. And even if it means developing new programs that we've never thought of before, and even opening a new building.
That makes a lot of sense. And, as the executive director, you have to sort of look at the friendship circle as a business. And for entrepreneurs that may be watching this, as someone that's been able to build this type of a organization, what would you say is the number one thing, if you can compartmentalize it like that? What's the number one thing that a new entrepreneur sort of needs to keep in their mind in order to be able to accomplish the types of things that successful entrepreneurs accomplish? Is there one thing that a new entrepreneur needs to think about in order to keep themselves sort of focused in on the type of success that they want to ultimately have?
So I can't tell you about how it translates to business, but I'll tell you here, you and other experts in business can translate it. What I mentioned before, the absolute and total dedication to the success of the business was of the enterprise, of the nonprofit, I felt was vital. We had many programs that we launched within the organization that started and failed. I could have, this whole idea, everything that I did, that we would have invested in and failed, there's no, if you invest somewhere else and the thing fails, then the person goes out of business and does something new. Here, we put ourselves into this space, and we're going to stay in this space no matter what happens. So we're forced to adapt to new ways because, we don't have a choice. This is our life. This is our commitment. And so I would say that I'm sure that translates in business, that you make a commitment to stick to something and at least for a certain amount of time. There's no, there's no moral reason why do you want to stick to a business for 50 years and for the rest of your life. But the fact that you make the business an extension of yourself, and you invest your own soul into it, and that contributes a lot to the success.
Well, that's wonderful. And that definitely translates into entrepreneurship and people that are not working in nonprofits. What you're saying is when you're in business, you need to be in business. It's all in. Right. And you're a perfect example, and you and your wife, Bossy, are perfect examples of being all in. So let's just fast forward just a little bit, because after you built the original building and built the original Lifetime Town building, then you had another aha moment, if you will, where you came up with this idea to put together something called the Soul Studio, which is a wonderful new sort of evolution of the friendship circle, where artists are taught to do beautiful art, and they actually can sell their art through the Soul Studio. And you have a soul cafe that people can work at to learn how to do various things. So perhaps these people with special needs might be able to move on and get a job even outside of the Soul Cafe. Can you tell us a little bit about how you kind of evolved into the Soul Cafe and the Soul Studio?
Sure. So the first thing is, a lot of the families that we had before mentioned to us, they said, our kids are getting older. You know, when we came to you and, you know, originally you told us, you Friendship Circle told us, we're family, we're here for you forever. You know, now my kid is 25, 26, 27 years old, and, you know, we're no longer, we can't do these other programs that you have anymore. So that was one thing. Also, in the state of Michigan, we're fortunate that the education system goes for people with special needs can go until their 26th birthday. In other states, it's 21, and I don't think it's lower than 21 anywhere, but, you know, and then it varies in between. But at 26 years old, the parents call it the cliff, and that's where their child is home and really nothing to do. There are, you know, wonderful vocational programs, but there aren't enough of them, and it's very difficult. So we knew that we wanted to address the needs of adults who have special needs. And with the same concept of this soul, you know, looking into the person's, seeing a person for who they are. So we, my wife actually, who I mentioned before, Basi, she's our, you know, co-founder and co-director of the organization. So she traveled around the country to see what people are doing for adults with special needs. And we found a lot of programs, and we were attracted to two of them specifically. One is cafes. It's a good place for socialization and for training and to learn the kind of skills that can be generalized in the community. And the other thing was art studio. And art is a good program for this, because art is a great equalizer, and someone having a you know, special needs or disability has absolutely no impact on the chances of them being an artist. So instead of doing either or, we decided to do both. And we really like that, because we feel that it brings life to each other.
So Rabbi, you've done a remarkable job, and I know there's a lot more to do, and you're not a person to rest on your laurels. And that's one of the things that people who know you love about you and Basi. So we've had this pandemic, this terrible pandemic that's taken over the world, and obviously with the Friendship Circle, there's a lot of interaction, a lot of person-to-person type interaction. So the Friendship Circle, like all other organizations in this time, have had to adapt. And you've been able to very quickly adapt the Friendship Circle to become virtual during this very challenging time. So can you just tell us a little bit first about the virtual programming? And then we want to talk about, so that the people can hear it, because it's inspirational, how you were able to move so quickly to get your entire organization moving virtually. So the first question is, how did you move everything so quickly into a virtual type of a Friendship Circle? How did that happen?
So that's, thank you for that question. So, you know, ever since we started the Friendship Circle, you know, we had our own internal core values that were motivating the Friendship Circle and that we had. And we sort of, by osmosis, either attracted like-minded staff or they gained that understanding. But we never had it really spelled out, what the core values of the organization is. We were blessed that about a year ago, we went on a mission to really put the core values of the organization on paper, that we can see and share, and really, share it with all the staff. And it's something that all the staff rallied around and accepted. And I think that the fact that we knew that, and three of those values are: we have to be there, we're family to the people that we help. The other one is yes attitude, and the other one is team player. And all those, and growth mindset, those are four of them. There's a couple of others. So really, as soon as this happened, because we were in the process of focusing so much on what our values are and explaining it at every meeting, and pointing out where people are good and where people can do better in their core values, I think those values really stepped in, and everyone's mind went to the right place when this happened. It is, we have these families, they are going to be isolated. They can afford to be isolated much less than anybody else.
Right.
Because they're there with the kids with special needs. What's our answer? We have to take care of them. This is our family. What are we going to do? And we went, people weren't even talking virtual or Zoom then. This is, right in the beginning. We
Right.
were up by, the governor announced on Friday, and we were up on Monday. I mean, that's, so when you search for an answer, knowing that you're not going to stop until you find one, you usually find one a lot sooner. That's if you search for an answer and you're not sure that there is one, you probably will never find it. Right? But if you search for an answer knowing that there has to be an answer, and you're sure and you're confident that there is a way to do this. So we took this challenge that these hundreds of people that we serve are going to be at home, and we have to find the answer. And we did it. And I'll share with you, we just put it together in a graphic in one weekly calendar, everything that goes on in the week between our divisions, and it's really inspirational. And our staff, originally we didn't want to cut back on staff because of morale, and we thought it would hurt morale to cut back on staff. And now we couldn't cut back on staff because everyone's busier than they've ever been.
That's great. I've been in business 30 years, and I really have never seen anything quite like it. It was basically on a Friday, you decided that you needed to help and continue to help the people that you're helping. And by the following Monday, you already had some programs up online.
Right.
And I'd never seen anything like it. I think this goes back to what you were saying earlier, that when you're in business, you need to be all in. And that's why they call it being in business. So this virtual programming that you have, I had not even heard about Zoom until the Friendship Circle really started using it. And now you have programs where the kids can go on Zoom, and they can participate in painting classes, and you have art classes, and you have programming for the parents now, and it's called Friendship Circle Goes Virtual. So now that you've done this, the question becomes, once we get back to some type of normalcy, to pre-pandemic times where we were having a lot more people engaging together, how are you going to incorporate this incredible virtual program with the going back to normalcy program once that happens? Are you going to lose the FC Goes Virtual, or are you going to sort of incorporate that into what the existing or pre-pandemic model look like? How are you going to integrate both of those together?
Okay, thanks for that question. So we have, as you mentioned earlier, we were the first friendship circle, and since then there are about 80, 85 friendship circles around the world. So we knew that as, there are some other very established friendship circles. You mentioned there are other life towns. There's two now additional ones, one in Columbus and one that's actually twice as big as ours in Livingston, New Jersey. But as far as programming staff, we have definitely the biggest and most experienced programming staff. And the first thing we said is, you know what, there are other friendship circles, and maybe they're not going to be in the same position to create these programs. Since we're doing it online anyway, we might as well just share our programs with everyone. And what happened is that it came back to us, because now it's not only one way. The other friendship circles are not just receiving in benefit from our programs, but we're receiving benefits from their programs as well, and they provide programming. So there are plenty of friendship circles that use it, but 17 different friendship circles participate by creating and running programs on our channels within Zoom and Facebook Live. We have 2 staff people who manage and coordinate that, but that's 17 different things going. So we have those programs. In addition, we have programs that are specifically to us. And then we have a lot of one-on-one. We create these one-on-one groups, and then other small groups. So we have all different ways how we interact with the people there. So what's going to stay is 2 things. We'll be able to have a national reach to places that don't have friendship circles, and we picked up a lot of people who participate in our programs who can't come to a friendship circle. So we anticipate keeping a friendship circle virtual and maybe fed by different friendship circles in different places. We'll put programs on. It's not going to be as robust a calendar, but at least people that can come should be able to participate. And in the art center specifically, we believe that there are a lot of people who cannot make it to a studio and may be able to benefit from the program virtually. And the other benefit that we got from this is our staff really came together as a team in a tremendous way. And we have, we usually have monthly staff meetings. Now we have daily staff meetings 5 days a week. And the worst of our daily staff meetings online is better attended than the best of our monthly staff meetings. So it's really great.
So this is great. This is taking an obstacle and turning that obstacle into something beautiful, which you've been able to do, which is another great sign of a great business and an entrepreneur, because it's not always smooth for entrepreneurs or business people or executive directors. There are potholes along the way. And if you encounter a pothole, you've got to move around it or go over it or think positively in a way that will get you where you need to be so you can keep moving forward. And when we talk about the virtual programming, I think it's also important to note that you don't have to be a member of a friendship circle to participate. You can simply go on to, let's say, Facebook and sign up for Friendship Circle or FC Goes Virtual, and any family in the world can participate at no charge on all of these wonderful programs. Is that correct?
That's correct. FC Goes Virtual, right. I think we have, I didn't check how many members we had lately, but whatever. So
that is beautiful. That's going to continue to help as many people and even more people than what you're already helping.
Right.
Rabbi, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to us today. I know after knowing you for a long time, what I would love, and maybe put you on the spot for a minute, and maybe you could just share some words of wisdom or some words of positiveness during this time that maybe people watching this show might be able to take to heart and perhaps hear a message from you that might make them feel a little bit better about the world that we live in and during this tough time. So if you have something or some words that you might want to impart upon the people watching, I would love to provide you that opportunity to have that time to do so.
Sure. So an inspirational, I read, I have a habit of a good practice of reading letters authored by the founder of our movement, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Schneerson of blessed memory. And there was one thing that's, I'm paraphrasing what he said, and it comes up a lot in his letters. And this is said a little differently to the way he says it, but that's the point, and that I really think is very important. When something like this happens, it's not our role or our duty to ask what's going to be and what's happening. The question we always have to ask is, what should I do? What am I supposed to do? And don't worry about what's going to be, worry about what you have to do. And that's what I try to do, is think with the abilities, situation, resources, both physical, material, and spiritual, that I was given and have the blessings to have in a case like this. What's my role? What am I supposed to be doing? And I pray that I'm going at least in the right direction. I know I'm not going as far as I could, but I hope I'm at least going in the right direction.
Well, Rabbi, thank you very much. After Pesach, you definitely have hit the ground sprinting.
Yes.
And we thank you very much for spending time with us today, telling us about the Friendship Circle, how you've gone virtual, and giving us some parting thoughts that I think are very positive and very meaningful for the people that are going to watch the show. So thank you very much.
Good luck, Andy, on everything, and with .com Magazine.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi.